Hi, everyone. Stephanie here from Vegan Mainstream. I'm excited to get started here. I know we're a few minutes after the hour. I know a couple of people weren't seeing the video, so I made a couple of quick changes, but we should be all set. If you're watching this as the recorded webinar, we are going to be monitoring questions and comments on our website, so you can definitely post them there, and I will jump in, or someone on the team will jump in and respond as well. We also live tweet during our webinars and after our webinars. We use the hashtag VM Marketing and Vegan Biz. So it's VEGANBIZ. So look for those two hashtags either after the fact if you're checking your notes or want to hear some quick highlights from the webinar. Or if you want to post a comment to me or ask a question or anything like that, we will be monitoring Twitter as well. So we want to make this fun. We want to make this interactive. I know this is our rescheduled session. So we have a little bit smaller group on here today, but I know a lot of people have said that they're going to be watching the replay. So if you are watching the replay, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're with us here live, I'm excited because it's going to be a great opportunity for you to get your questions answered about email marketing. So let's jump into the slides right away, just so we make sure you walk away with some great content and great information. So today we're going to be talking about email marketing, kind of like a formula. And the reason I like to do this presentation and talk about kind of the formula around email marketing is I really want to stress the idea that when we build our marketing approaches, when we build marketing tools across our business on our platforms, we want to build things that feel more repeatable. We want to build things that are tools that we can use over time, or tools that we can use as a testing ground so we can establish an ongoing process. So tonight I'm going to talk about some of the things that you need to have in place, some of the reasons why you want to put them in place, and also give you a quick outline so that you could maybe put an email marketing formula in place for your business. Okay. I try to break it down to a couple of steps. I go back and forth on how I like to do these steps sometimes because email marketing can just be so big and so huge, and it's such an amazing tool that it's hard sometimes to break it down into a few things that you want to get done to get this process in place. But hopefully tonight you'll walk away with not only some quick nuggets, but also some good reminders about why and how email marketing can really make a difference in your business. And what I wanted to do is kind of kick things off with about the stats around email marketing. And the reason I do this is there's always a few people, not only in the webinars, but people that do marketing or in businesses that are kind of like, oh, I get so much spam. Who reads email? And does email marketing really work? And is it dead because social media is taking over? All that little skepticism that's out there. And I kind of want to put a little bit of it to rest, as well as I want to put some numbers in front of you so you can start to maybe look at or think about email differently, especially many of you maybe that are on this webinar because you're interested in doing more email marketing and you understand the value of it. But the reason I like to put some of these slides up is because I want to really kind of put some metrics behind that value. So it's not just a gut check. It's not just, yeah, Stephanie told me it's good. I really want you to kind of see some of these numbers. And what's interesting about some of these stats, and there's a ton out there, is that, especially if we take the first one, which talks about people who are being marketed to, how they spend about 138% more than people who did not receive an email offer. And what that's really telling you is that email is not only a good sales tool, but email is a tool that can help you get more or get people to spend more. Maybe people are adding more to their cart. Maybe they're coming back to you twice. The idea is that email is not just a way to drive sales, but email can really be an amazing tool in your toolkit to help you do more with the marketing you're already doing. So I don't want you today to just walk away and think email marketing is the only thing I should do. I should worry about nothing else. It's not really the takeaway. What I want to do is make sure you have an email marketing kind of approach in place, or a streamed down consolidated approach in place to get some testing done and get some sales going. But I also want you to kind of realize that People are really making decisions. People are really buying product based on email. And email is really what's amazing about the email tool is it's one of the few things that everyone checks every day. Not everyone's on their Instagram every day, on their Facebook, on their Twitter, even articles as an example. Not everyone's reading the newspaper every day. Not everyone's watching the news every day if you're doing TV ads. Not everyone it's maybe seeing the same ads, billboards and so forth, or maybe they're not reading the magazines every month. But email is a marketing tool that people are frequenting almost every single day. So your ability to reach them is pretty high. Now, I agree, there's a lot of noise in the space. So there's a lot we have to do about how to cut through that noise, how to get kind of that attention, and how to make sure that you don't get people to unsubscribe. But the reality is that email promotions really do help you get more customers. They help you increase spend when people do spend money. And that email really makes a difference. Like we have here, 40%, 44% of email recipients made at least one purchase last year based on a promotion. So if you can get those types of numbers, it's definitely something that you want to make sure you're incorporating, or you want to make sure you have a big focus on. Okay. So now that I've kind of state my case on why you should be doing email marketing, especially if you're struggling with how do I split some of that time, I want to talk about a couple other kind of foundational things we need to go through before we start to jump into the nitty gritty of how to kind of roll out an amazing approach. The other thing is email marketing tool. You have to have an email marketing tool to make this work. I know many of you are doing some email marketing and you're kind of making it work because you're sending it out through Gmail, or you're sending them out through different email accounts, your Outlook and so forth. Most email has limits. So most people can only send, 50 or 100 emails a day. The other reason you want to move into an email marketing provider is it's going to give us that data. And that's important information when you think about it from a marketing standpoint. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that when we do marketing, when we send emails out, when we do promotions, we can actually track the benefit of that. We can actually see the impact of that activity. And by using things like email marketing, you're able to do that because email marketing is going to track how many people opened it. Email marketing is going to tell you how many people clicked. They're going to tell you how many times people clicked. And even there's some great tools in email marketing where you're able to link it to your email marketing platform where your sales are happening, especially if your sales are happening on your website, where we can actually say campaign A generated $1,000 for me. So that's what makes email marketing really cool, and also why you really have to make sure you have an email marketing tool in place. Now, for some of you, I know you're like, oh, another piece of technology, another thing to learn. And yes, you got to get your hands around this. If someone on your team is familiar with these tools, even better. But this is something you have to get a little bit up and running on. However, these tools are getting easier and easier. They're creating things like what we call drag and drop technology, which means you're able to like drag an image box over, drag a text box over. So that way you can lay out your emails. Your emails can look more modern. They're easier to set up. And that's why I lean towards more a lot of the tools like MailChimp or Aweber. Those are probably my top two favorite. Constant Contact is not my favorite. I feel like it's a little bit more rigid than the other tools. And iContact, I think sometimes they're always playing catch up, but they do not too bad. Aweber I like if you're going to be a heavy internet marketer. But if you're more going to be doing online and offline marketing, if you're really going to be a person that kind of does some email marketing, but you're going to be doing all other types of marketing as well, I tend to lean towards MailChimp. I think it's a little bit more of a good baseline for the average business, as well as I like MailChimp because it's free for the first 2,000 subscribers. So what's amazing about that is it doesn't cost you anything to get some of this stuff initially set up. And until we can actually drive some sales, get some money rolling through, then you can decide to start to invest. Now, some of you already have email lists. So if you have a list bigger than 2,000, you will have to pay for it. But if you're just starting out, maybe have a few, 100, 400, 500, let's get those into MailChimp. Let's set up an actual email marketing tool so we can start to roll out a true email marketing kind of formula to help you drive sales. Okay? Now that we got that baseline, I want to kind of talk about the stages of email marketing. And the reason I lay it out this way is because I want to give you a strategical look at it before we drill down into the tactical side. And the reason I do this is I think sometimes when people think of email marketing, they just think of that red box that we have on the page, which is kind of that sales and promotion, meaning I'm having a cooking class, I'm going to send out an email and tell people to sign up for my cooking class. Or I'm releasing a new book. We're actually going to be selling it on XYZ date. So I'm going to send out an email and tell people to buy my book. Or maybe you're in a retail space. Maybe you sell vegan makeup, as an example. And you're saying, okay, I got my online store up and running. I'm just going to blast out a promotion, or I want to do a 20% off, or I'm going to let people know that new products in stock. So the idea is you really start to get heavy on the sales and promotion side. And what will happen is you may not get the results you expect. And what I mean by that is you're not creating an email process that's a nurturing process. You're assuming that when people receive your emails, that they're already kind of predisposed to buying. They just need that tipping point to say, oh yeah, I was going to get some vegan makeup. I'm glad this email came in. Cool, I'm getting 30% off. Absolutely, I'm going to go for it. Now, that does happen. And as you build out a really good process, you will create a repeatable process so you can catch those opportunities. But if you're heavy on the sales promotion side, two things happen. Either A, because you're always sending out sale promotions, your list starts to erode, meaning you started with 1,000 people and now you're down to 600 because people have just opted out because the only content and information you're giving them is just sales. So what happens is it means we have to have something that constantly builds our email list because otherwise we're only selling to the same people all the time. And that's where that lead generation box at the beginning comes into play. The other thing we need to do is we really need to build rapport. We need to establish your expertise. Why should someone be buying your vegan makeup or your vegan chips or your book or your consulting services? So what we want to do is make sure that we have a little bit more of a holistic approach. So when you think about putting together an email marketing strategy, when you're saying that, especially those of you out there are either new to email marketing or you're not getting enough out of your email marketing, what I want you to do is kind of take a hard look at this and start to think about, do I have all the components in place for each one of these stages? Do I have something in place that generates leads and constantly brings in new people? Do I have something in place, meaning emails that I'm sending out to my list that establishes my credibility? An example here, maybe you're sending out recipes because you're a cookbook author. Maybe you're sending out blog posts because in your blog you're giving people advice or tips, especially if you're maybe a wellness coach. So you're letting people know how to transfer their pantry over. Maybe you're teaching people how to read labels. Maybe you're teaching people about belonging to a CSA, as an example. So what happens is you're showing them your expertise by teaching them things on your blog, and you're sending out specific emails to let them know when those articles or that information is available. Are you building rapport? Are you doing things that are not just pushing out content, but create engagement? And what that means is maybe asking for feedback, either on content that you published, either on a product that you sold, either on information that you put on the website, or maybe you're trying something new. Maybe you're going to be rolling out a new product or service. Especially if you're doing a new product, maybe you're coming out with those vegan chips that we talked about and you're coming out with 3 new flavors, or you're trying to decide between 3 new flavors. Why not send out an email and ask people their opinion, what they expect, what they like? Same thing on the vegan makeup side. Maybe you're doing something where you're going to be coming out with, let's say, a new line of colors. Maybe you're coming out with a summer palette, so it's a little bit lighter colors and so forth. Ask people for feedback, what their thoughts are. Maybe you're going to be sending out a personal note, letting them know about what you have planned for the year, what changes are happening in your business. Maybe you moved to a new facility. Maybe you're a fitness coach, and maybe you've been doing some new like CrossFit videos, or maybe you've been working on a new routine with your clients and you've gotten some great testimonials. What you're trying to do here is now build that rapport, create that engagement. And what's cool about this stage is this is where you almost start to do an overlap between email marketing and social media. Because ultimately, what you're doing is you're asking people their opinion, you're asking people what they're thinking, and you're asking them to respond. So that means you're either asking people to hit the reply button on an email and respond to you directly. You're either posting a link in Facebook and telling them to jump over to Facebook and tell you what you think. You're maybe putting a hashtag in the email and telling people to tweet their responses. Because now what you're doing is you're taking email from that passive level to a little bit more interactive. You're making it so that people are not just seeing your emails and reading your emails, but you're able to understand how they're interacting with them, what they think of them, and also creates a bigger engagement and also creates a deeper relationship. So when it's time to ask someone to buy, when it's time to talk about a promotion, a person has had many touch points with you. They've interacted with you in different levels. They see how you're an expert. They've connected with you. They've gotten your advice. And they're much more inclined now to trust your brand and buy a product for the first time. Maybe splurge on something. Maybe try one of those new flavors or colors or palettes that I was just talking about. Or maybe get your new cookbook because they've seen your recipes. They've seen how you build your recipes. You've talked about, the trials and tribulations and the fun of creating your cookbook, and now people have and feel that connection. They're much more likely to sell. Then after the sales process, and this is where a lot of us fall down, is you want to create that retention and referrals opportunity. So it doesn't stop right after a person buys. You want to make sure that you actually not only thank people for their order, which is so important, but also ask people for reviews. Maybe ask them for referral requests, or you may even turn it into an additional sales opportunity. Maybe you're sending them, maybe they're buying one of your books, maybe they're signing up for one of your consults. And what you're going to do is maybe send them an email and let them know about another promotion or product. Or if they sign up for one consult, especially if you're a wellness coach, maybe you're going to send them a package deal that you have where they can get 3 consults for the price of 2. Maybe for your products, maybe you have a sampler pack, especially if you're doing something around food. Maybe you have a cookie sampler pack as an example, and they can upsell and get a cookie sample pack after they purchased your oatmeal raisin cookies. So just think about your email not as just the promotion, not as just that thing you're blasting out, but more of a process, more of an evolution, and more of a tool and a way for you to not only constantly fill the bucket with new people from lead generation, really help people understand your credibility, your uniqueness, and why they should be listening to you, stay on your list, connect with you. Giving people an opportunity to create that two-way street, then promote, and then also making sure you keep the relationship and rapport going so you have those retention, those referrals, those loyalty programs, things like that that create that stickiness, okay? Now, for many of you, you may be sitting there right now saying, oh my goodness, Stephanie, this sounds great. I got it. I know I should be doing this. But this is going to take me forever to get in place. And the reality is this can take some time. This could take you anywhere from 3 to maybe 6 months to put in place, depending on your time, because you have to build some of these emails, you have to create them, you have to write emails for different products. If maybe you offer 3 or 4 different products or services, you might take some time. So what I want to do tonight is I wanted to give you the big picture because I want you to know where you're going. I want you to know how this works and how this really generates sales. But tonight, I'm going to talk about how do we create that condensed version? How do we come up with a quick approach so you can get up and running? We can launch this, test this, get a couple of sales come through, and you can start to understand the benefit of this, okay? So I'm not saying that that's definitely where you're going, but I wanted to create kind of like a 2-week approach for you so we can get started. And the best way to do that is to start with a focus. And for most people, you're either going to start with a specific product that we want to sell, so we can build this email marketing approach around one product, or a target market. Now, the reason I say a product or a target market is really probably most ideal. Because what you would love to do is build a marketing promotion around a group of people that you're trying to target. If you're trying to target young mothers, maybe you're trying to target single professionals, maybe you're trying to target guys over XYZ age. Maybe you're trying to target people who are DIY people because your product is kind of a DIY service. It's great to do that targeting marketing, but what I find is for most people, they feel a little fuzzy about that. They're like, my product can be used by anybody, so I'm going to target everyone. And if you're in that phase or you're feeling fuzzy, I highly recommend you go with the product. It's a little bit more of a hyper focus, but it gets you through the process and through the phases, as well as it feels a little bit more tangible for people. So therefore, I find people do better. So let's start with a product. And when I say a product, I mean a specific product, meaning a book. If you have a cookbook that came out or you recently published, then let's focus on selling that cookbook and building an email marketing plan around that. If you are, like I said, a fitness/wellness coach, so you teach people how to get in shape and eat right, then let's come up with specifically either one of your programs. Maybe you have an 8-week program, or if you do consulting services or coaching services, let's pick specifically one product. Not all your consulting, not all your plans. Let's pick one plan, whether it's a 2-hour consulting program or whether it's an 8-week program. Let's pick one. If you're more on the retail side, so maybe you sell a manufactured product and you sell it direct to your customers, then let's focus there. Like I said before, maybe you do skincare products. So let's focus on that. Maybe you do home products. Maybe you're into clothing or shoes, whatever that is, let's pick a specific line or specific product. Especially with the fall coming, or as you know, people move into the fall. If you're coming out with a new fall line of shoes, let's focus there. Okay. Any questions so far? I know for a lot of you, I'm throwing a lot of ideas and a lot of information out there. If you're on the site, feel free to use the comment section at the bottom of the video. If you're on Google Plus, you can definitely post your comments on there. I'm checking them out and reading them there, as well as you can post them on Twitter. Like I mentioned before, we're using the hashtag VM Marketing or Vegan Biz. Okay, all right. So I'm going to keep rolling because I want to make sure we get through everything. So now that you've figured out your product that we're going to focus on, the key big next step is focusing on lead generation. And what that means is getting people to sign up and join your email list. Now, for a lot of you, you've probably heard this before where it's like, oh, I got to do a quick ebook. And if I do an ebook, some people will sign up on my list. And the idea is basically yes, but things have evolved since we've uploaded the, 20-page, 40-page ebook that people download. What I want you to do a little bit differently this time is I want you to think of your lead generation process as not one item, but multiple roads. What we want to do is give people multiple ways to get on your list. 2 reasons. Number one, people learn differently. Some people are more visual. Some people like to read. Some people like to feel like things are a little bit more tangible. Some people like things that are more live and in the moment. So what we want to do is kind of appeal to that by developing tools that will pull traffic into your site and into a landing page so people will sign up on your email. Okay? Now, I normally recommend starting with 3, and I normally put them in these buckets. I normally have some type of free content, and what I mean by that is it's content that people can access without signing up. Because this day and age, since we've done so many, type in your email to download, a lot of people want to get some exposure to you without putting their email up right away. Okay? So what that means is we want to give people the opportunity to share, to look at, to really dive into some information. And normally that works best if you have content that's not behind a firewall. Now, for some of you, you may say, well, Steph, I already have a blog. They can just check out my blog. And yes, they technically can check out your blog, but remember, we're trying to build a process around selling a specific product. So what I recommend, and you can reuse content potentially, is that we do want to build a landing page specifically with free content on there that helps you position that product. So if we're doing a book, I want a video on there that talks about the book creation process, how you created the book, why you thought it would be good feedback you've gotten so far about it, and what makes this book stand out. What really kind of makes people love the book. And then what happens is we put that video up there, and below that video, we want comments. We want a comment box similar to kind of how we have the webinar here on our website. But the idea is we want to give people an opportunity to see you, to hear you, to see kind of almost, it's a little bit more of a heightened interaction because they get to see you and hear you talk. But then we also want to give them a chance to respond. So by putting the comments at the bottom of the page, now people kind of up the ante. It feels that little bit more two-way type of approach. You'll monitor the comments, obviously, and post questions or anything on the page there. So that's really, really, really key and very important, okay? The other reason that we want to have some free content like that is on that page, we're still going to have a sign-up box so a person can sign up for your list. Often what I'll do is whatever my document download is, which I'll talk about that in a minute, my document download will link to the video that we talked about. So if I have a video that's talking about my new book, I'm going to maybe have a document download that's going to be a quick download cheat sheet. If you're doing something around food, maybe you're giving them some top 10 tips. I mentioned earlier, if you're maybe a coach and you're doing something about label reading, maybe you'll do a digital download, a document download that will be about the top 10 ingredients to stay away from when reading labels, as an example. Okay. Now that downloaded document, once again, it will be on the free content page so people can grab it there, but we're also going to promote it other places so people can get it. Now, the document download, let's talk about that a little bit as well. The document download is another one of your lead generation tools. Now, we will make it accessible from the free content page, but we also need to have its own landing page because we want to promote that as well. Now, the reason why I call these document downloads cheat sheets or guides, and while I really stress the fact that it's 1 to 2 pages, is you want something quick. You want something easy because what you're doing by creating this document is you're giving people information in a quick 10, 15-minute read. Yes, this might be information that if they spent 4 hours online, they could have grabbed it and pulled it all together, or they might have been able to figure it out. But if you can save people 3 to 4 hours by giving them a document that sums it up and gives them all the information they need in 1 to 2 pages, that's a huge saving. I love to have 3 or 4 hours back. Even today, in my day, so I could get things done. So think of it that way. You're creating a document that's more of a time saving and they're really getting value and information out to them. We're going to have a landing page so a person can sign up for it. When they sign up on your email list, that's how they'll download the information. Okay? And then the third thing we want to have is some type of live event. Now, the reason I say a live event is, once again, this is a way for you to interact with people. Now, for some, this is going to be in person. Maybe you have a local meetup. You're going to meet at like a local Starbucks or at the community center, and you're just going to do a quick meeting. Simple format, simple environment, where you may be doing a quick little demo. So you're doing a 20, 30-minute quick demo if you're maybe doing something around food. Even if you're doing something else, maybe it's around fitness, you may be teaching people different exercises that they could do at home or exercises they could do at work. Maybe if you're doing something around a product like we talked about, maybe you have vegan makeup. Maybe you're doing a session to teach people how to make a smoky eye or, whatever the new trend is for makeup. Now, you can do the same thing online. You can do a webinar or a teleseminar. The idea is online or offline, you're just creating a live event because what you want to do is create a sense of urgency and something that people have to attend to get the information, as well as people like knowing that, okay, at 4 o'clock, I'm going to learn such and such information. So highly recommend when you're building your lead generation is to have 3 different components. Like I said, the free, the downloaded document, and the live event. Now, when you set up these items, people have to find them. They're only beneficial if we can pull people in. So there's stage 1 of creating this actual content or setting a date for your live event. And then there's phase 2, which is how are people going to know it exists so I can ultimately get them on my list. So I created a boxes on the side of just giving you examples of ways that you can use different marketing techniques to make people aware of these lead generation tools so you can pull them into the fold and get them on the list. The other reason I put this on here is we want this to be an ongoing process. Lead generation shouldn't be something where we just do a social media giveaway and a ton of people sign up and that's it. This shouldn't be something where we just put an ebook out and if people come to the website, it pops up, and if they close the box, then they never see it again. We really want to make this interactive. We want to make it easy for people to find. We want it in different places. So when I put these options on the right-hand side, it doesn't mean that the hello bar or putting it in the footer is the only option for document download. You could do the same thing for the free content, or you could put the live event in a hello bar. And a hello bar is just those bars that are at the top of the page a lot of times where people will advertise a live event, or you can sign up directly from there to download a document. It's just like an announcement bar that goes at the top of your site. So the idea is you can mix and match these up, but I wanted to make sure I gave you enough variety so you can see how for each one of your lead generation tools, you want to have 2 to 3 different ways that people can find it and people can follow that breadcrumb from somewhere on your site to the landing page so they can sign up. Okay? They can also follow the breadcrumb off of your site. And one of the key things that I think people forget to do is to leverage partners. The reason why I love doing the free content for lead generation, or another one of the reasons I like to do it, is because when you have free content without a requirement to put your email in to access it, often you can work with partners, and partners are willing to share that content with others. So other people who are in your market, other people that share your passion, they'll be more willing to share that video with others. And as that video gets more and more exposure, as more and more people come to your site, because now we have a hello bar at the top of that page that says they can do a document download, or because we have a link in the footer to let people know that we have a digital download, or maybe we have a link to the live event on the page. Now when people come in there, we can pull them deeper into the site, deeper into the process, and get them signed up. But what we've done is we've created an opportunity for others to help us reach new people, because that's always the challenge with email marketing, is reaching new people. Okay? So I hope so far you're starting to feel the gel. Okay, Stephanie, I pick a product. I say I got to create 3 lead generation tools. Bang, I need a video with some contents on the page. I got to create a document. I got to set a date for a live event. That simple. Okay? Now, I've been using the term landing pages. I always just take a quick minute to show you what I mean by a landing page, because for some of you, you may feel like I didn't exactly get it. And a landing page is just a page that's clean. It doesn't have much information on it other than the action you want a person to take. So we talked about before, maybe having a digital download. In that section number 8, you may have a quick image of the digital download. On the right-hand side, you'll have a headline, maybe a quick description, a couple of bullet points as far as what's in that document download. And then you'll have a button that says click here, or click here to download, or, and so forth. You'll have your email, put their email name, and then they can click. This applies for the same thing. If you're doing the video, you put the video on the left-hand side, and then maybe the comment box would run on the right-hand side. If you're doing the live event, you want people to sign up, you'll need a landing page for that. Same idea. We put a headline, put an image, we put a sign-up box. So when you think of a landing page, it's just a focused page on specifically the action we want to take, and it's kind of the sister page to your lead generation tools. Okay? All right. Now, all right, we've done step 1, we've done step 2. Let's talk about step 3. So step 3 in the process is creating an email plan. So like we talked about earlier, the whole strategic look is going to have a lot of components to it. But if we want to get started, we really just need the bare bones basics. And what that means is creating some specific emails that complement the lead generation tools. And then we need some emails that help us drive sales. Now, the reason I put this together and why this is kind of a full plan looking at this consolidated approach is because often when people do email, or where people struggle, is their emails are not integrated. So what happens is their welcome email is talking about one thing, another email is talking about another product or service, another email is talking about something that happened this weekend, and then they're promoting an event that has never been mentioned before. So what I want you to do is I want you to get some consistency. I want this to follow a process. So like we talked about before, if you're an author as an example. You've already done your free content video. Someone sees the video. They're like, oh, great, this is cool. She gave me some great ideas about this book. I'm really interested. I'm wondering what else she has going on. She mentioned that she has this document that I can download and get access to. So put in their email address. Put in their email address, hit send. First email they get is a welcome email. Everyone on your list should always get a welcome email. The reason being is welcome emails is a great way to bridge the gap. Number one, you can also tell them about any of your other lead generation goodies. So you can tell them you're having a live event coming up. You can tell people about the free content, because the challenge is people may end up on your list for all different reasons or all different ways or all different paths. So you want to make sure people know about all the goodies so that they take advantage of it. The other thing about a welcome email is it's an opportunity for you to tell them more about who you are and what you're doing and what you offer. Not so much from a sales standpoint, but much more of an introduction. Just like if you were in a networking environment and you met someone at an event and they say, well, what do you do? Well, this is what I do. I have a XYZ kind of business. I've been an author for 5 years. I came up with my first cookbook this year. I'm really excited because it's an opportunity for me to teach people A, B, and C. That's all your welcome email is, with a couple of links to send people either to your lead generation goodies or maybe to your blog and send them a little bit deeper. Okay. The next email we want to create is something that's a personal note. This is where we're getting into a little bit more rapport, and we're also creating some interaction. I find I like to build a personal note that normally goes out after someone downloads the document. So for example, if this is all related to the same product, like we talked about, we're an author, if I am giving someone a quick guide that they download, I'm going to send them a personal note, maybe 2 days, 3 days after they download it, and actually say to them, what did they think? Did they get a chance to use any of the steps? Have they gotten any success? And what happens is now that creates a little bit more dialogue. I may still have them go to Facebook to post it, or I may have them hit the reply button. Depending on your business, you have to decide what works best. But now what we're doing is now we're getting things to be integrated, because now I'm constantly, as I'm talking to them, I'm talking to them about the process that they're going to. I'm asking them for feedback. And then everything that we're talking about is circling around the book. Same thing as a process if you're a vegan makeup company and you have your free content that's talking about different techniques or ways to put on makeup, in the summer hot months. And like we talked about, in the digital download, maybe you have something about tips on how to pick the best colors or how to coordinate your makeup with your outfit. Same thing in the welcome email. You say the same thing. You say, hey, I'm so glad you're learning about our new makeup line and what we're doing around some of our new colors. Want to welcome you to the site. Make sure you know about all of our goodies, you know about our free content and our digital download. And then the personal note comes out. So what happens is now we've been talking about makeup, we've been talking about shades, we've been talking about colors, talking about looks. So when it's time to actually go to sales, which are the red buttons on the page, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about colors. So when you're selling products, you're going to sell those colors that go perfectly with A, B, and C type of outfits. If you are an author, when we're selling the book, we're going to talk about the book and how the book links to the guide and the information that you said in the content. All right? Because if you have a food product, say you have chips like we've talked about, and you're a snacker and you've been teaching people how to snack or snack healthy, and how the chips that you offer are a healthier option and a healthier alternative, then when you send them an email for sales, we're going to talk about not only can they buy those chips, we're going to reinforce that same message. So ultimately, your email plan is creating 4 to 5 emails to support this process. Welcome, personal note. I say early bird and VIP. Depending on what you're offering, if you're doing cooking classes, then you probably have an early bird promotion. If you're doing a product online, you may have something where people can pre-order the product before it releases. You can pre-order books. So depending on your business, you're going to have to tweak those a little bit. Same thing with consulting business. It may not be necessarily an early bird product, but maybe it's something where if people sign up by this date and that date, you're going to give them a certain type of discount. And so forth. So the idea is we're going to build 4 to 5 emails that support this process. Use the timeline at the bottom of the page, and then we're going to start to schedule it out. So that way now I have a process in place that every time a trigger is hit, meaning someone joins my list, welcome email goes out. Someone downloads a document, personal note goes out. After my live event, my offers go out. After the early bird special, 3 to 7 days later, a VIP or limited offer goes out. After anyone purchases, a thank you note always goes out. So then that way, this is something that is no longer a process you have to think about, a process you have to build, a process you have to launch. This becomes evergreen. This becomes something that anytime you want to do a sale, anytime you want to do a promotion, or depending on the product or service, this might be something that you keep in place every single time. All right. So that's really the plan. That's what you have to build. I tried to break it down so you really don't have that much pieces to build. Now, for some people, you're like, oh, I got to write 5 emails. Yeah, you got to write 5 emails, but it shouldn't take you too much time. Same thing with these lead generation tools. It shouldn't take you this time, because what we're basically doing is starting to create a to-do list for you. And honestly, at the end of the day, you should have about a 10, maybe 11 tasks on your list to get this done. Okay. So I don't want you to look at this when I'm explaining it to feel like it's kind of daunting or this large process. It really is a 10 to 11 step process to get in place. Now, for some of you, you're like, okay, Steph, yeah, 10 to 11 step process, but I got a lot going on. This sounds good, but how am I ever going to get this done? And that's really the next step in the process, is creating an action plan around this. Because the reason you put an action plan around this is you want to make sure you get it done. You want to make sure that you start to tick off these items. In reality, this is something that you can get done in 2 weeks. So I'm going to challenge you guys out there is in the next 2 weeks, I want you to get a pilot in place. And what I want you to do, or how I recommend for most people, is set this up as kind of a weekend project. I find that when I work on things like this, weekends are great. So I'll pick kind of like a Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday type of 2-week approach. And what I'll do is I'll spend maybe 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday, 2 or 3 hours on a Sunday, and then the following week do the same thing. So I'm spending 2 to 3 hours and 2 to 3 hours. That way it doesn't interfere with my regular time and all the other things I have going on during the week. As well as I get to work on it when there's a little bit less interruptions. I can do a little bit more thinking, planning, because I find that doing things like writing, I need a little bit more quiet time. I can't have email popping up every 2 minutes. The other thing is, this really is stuff that you can limit down to 30 and 60-minute tasks. So when you're writing those emails, some emails are going to be 30 minutes, quick writes. Some emails, maybe it'll take you a little bit more. Maybe it may take you about 60 minutes, especially that welcome email. I find that takes maybe 45 minutes to an hour to get a really good, solid one down. I recommend for a lot of people, you break it up. So you do 30 minutes for the draft for the welcome email, and then you come back in 30 minutes and you actually proof it. Same thing for your videos. Getting a video up and running, we only want especially for the free item, you want to do a 2 to maybe 5-minute video. And when you're doing this really short video, this shouldn't take you long to create. You just do a quick outline of a couple of bullet points, jump on a tool like Google Hangouts or any camera, QuickTime, Camtasia, whatever tool you have on your computer, do a quick video, set it up, get it live on your site. Okay? So don't think of this stuff as this huge project. Think of it, like I said, 10 or 11 tasks. Break down each task as a 30-minute to 60-minute mini project, and then start to schedule this out over either a 2-week period if you want to do weekdays, or like I said, do the weekend, and you'll find it works really, really well. Now, for some people, you're like me and you're like, oh, I want to do this and I want to make it perfect. don't worry about perfection. We're trying to pilot this and get this up and running because this is something that you're going to change over time. You're going to edit over time. You're going to tweak it over time. So get those first emails written, get through your to-do list, write up kind of a quick list of not only these are the emails and the documents, any website changes, and just start to attack it. And then the last step in the process, once we got the action plan and we knock that out, is you want to sit back after you've gotten this done, is making sure you have the right tools in place for tracking. This is really where the magic starts to happen and where you can start to get to more of an automated phase, because you want to make sure that every time you set up this process, you create separate email lists or subgroups, depending on how you manage your MailChimp or Constant Contact or Aweber. The reason you're setting up separate email lists is because we want to know who signed up for what. How many people signed up for your live event? How many people signed up to do a digital download or a document download? Especially as this expands. We talked about tonight just focusing on one product first. Maybe you do coaching first, and then you come back and you're saying, hey, Stephanie, I want to do this for my book. So then you're going to come back and actually do it for your book. We want to have subgroups for each one. So maybe people who went through the book process go into one list. People who've gone through the coaching kind of process goes into another list, or like I said, subgroups, because this will allow us to see how many people are signing up, what rate they're signing up. Also, when you start to email, we can actually track these results if you link it to your e-commerce site. So if any of you out there are using WooCommerce as an example, BigCommerce, Shopify, all of those tools will allow you to link your email in MailChimp to your email marketing campaign. So that way you can actually see for every email I sent out, who actually purchased off of those emails. Now, obviously, we also want to track traffic to your site. So we want to make sure we have Google Analytics on your site so we can see who's coming in from where, especially as we're doing like posts on social media like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or we're doing some of those interactive emails that we talked about. We want to be able to see where did they come from. And what's great about tools like MailChimp is you can link your MailChimp campaign to Google Analytics and see how much traffic came to your site from that email. And then ultimately, by getting these mechanisms in place, we're going to truly be able to automate this process, because now we can track what's happening, where it's coming from, what's working, what's not maybe working so well, and what needs to be improved upon. But ultimately, we can turn this into evergreen. And what that means is, if we find that having a link always at the top of the page of our next event or live event works really well, then you'll always have a header link on your page. We just go from live event to the next live event to the next live event. And you may decide, okay, I'm going to do live events once a month as a way to generate leads and keep people engaged. Okay? So this is how this turns into not only a way to kind of create that buzz, but it can turn into the process that you always do. It's just like for us, I do webinars once a month. I actually sit down at the beginning of the year in January, the end of the year in December, and I sit down and pick all the dates for my webinars, pick all the topics for my webinars. So I know throughout the year when I'm available, when do I have classes, when do I have training, and really set aside those times. So when I do my marketing throughout the year, most of that marketing can be automated. Many of my emails can be scheduled months and months in advance because I know I'm going to have a webinar on, let's say, for example, our next one is August 26th. And I know my next webinar is September 9th, so and so forth. So therefore, when I create campaigns, when I do marketing, when I'm posting, or maybe even doing something as aggressive as Facebook ads, I can actually schedule all of that and start to automate it because I have this ongoing process in place. I have the tools to track the success of this process, as well as I have a process that is not just a piece of the process, meaning I'm just list building at this point. I'm just emailing to my list to keep them engaged. I'm just trying to sell products. Instead, what you want to build is you want to build a cohesive plan that allows you to really move someone from lead to, from prospect to lead to customer. And the only way to do that is by using many of these tools that allow you to bring them into the fold educate them, talk to them, send them personal notes, provide them with information, and then ultimately ask them for the sale. And then after the sale, make sure you thank them as well as potentially offer them an upsell opportunity. Okay, so with that, we are going to wrap up today's webinar. I hope I didn't give you guys too much information. I'm always guilty of that when I think about my webinars. I'm always trying to make sure I'm giving people things that are actionable, things that you can really drive some really amazing responses in your business, and something that's truly cohesive and comprehensive. I'm really big on making sure that from these webinars, you can pull a slide out and just go to town and implement it and test it in your business. But you'll be surprised when you start with a product in mind, build an email marketing plan around it, and use it as a tool and a way to migrate people, educate people, show your expertise, and then ultimately ask for the sale and keep that going through a loyalty email campaign. Not only will you be able to truly have a strong, repeatable, and ultimately automated process in place, you will see more sales come in, greater sales come in, even kind of linking to some of those stats that we talked about earlier, and find that people are more willing to invest in your products and services. So with that, thank you again for joining us today. And I will talk to you next month at the next Webinar Wednesday. All right, take care.